It established the division between a career at the Mariinsky in St Petersburg and was a farewell to Russia that was significant, of course, in her lifetime. And she had bravely travelled across Europe by this time, and she'd been to America several times. Her reputation had grown, obviously, through the press and through the public, who adored her the moment she arrived in London.
So she came here to a very warm reception right from the get-go.
Absolutely. I mean, she created a sensation. Her first visits to London were private visits. One included a visit to Lady Lonsborough for a soirée where the King and the Queen were present. That, of course, gave her a cachet and dispelled all thoughts or negative thoughts of her appearing in a music hall, which she did at the Palace Theatre. From then on, it was the warmth of the response of the audiences that I think really encouraged her to stay here.
And why did they respond to her in such a way?
Well, ballet had declined from its heyday in London in the earlier 19th century, when Taglioni, Grisi, Elsler had danced on the stage. And here she was reintroducing an art form which they'd heard of, but not seen. The response was so remarkable, and especially as it was a music hall where there were comedians and jugglers and other things, and she would appear and do 20, 30-minute dance intervals. And that's what's remarkable about it, that the audience, ignorant, if you like, unknowing, perhaps a better word, responded, because here was a woman who was not only glamorous, had a beefy partner to support her, not an effete man, and she could dance on point and run on point and hold balances in arabesques for an age.
So that perhaps shows that audiences don't need to necessarily know a lot about ballet to enjoy it.
Well, this audience was waiting for something like Pavlova to happen because they always expected something new. But they got more than they bargained for, and her seasons at the Palace, which continued right through her career almost, got more extended every time she came back.
And would you say we still feel her influence in ballet today, at the Kirov, now the Mariinsky again, at the Bolshoi, at Covent Garden?
Yes, absolutely. She's well respected. I was at a talk the night before last given by Monica Mason, director of the Royal Ballet, who was talking about her career, but frequently referred back to Pavlova and how she remains an inspiration, especially as Pavlova inspired Sir Frederick Ashton, who was the great choreographer of the Royal Ballet and was director of the Royal Ballet, that she lived with, and everyone in the Royal Ballet Company had to live up to Sir Fred's idea of what ballet should be.
Leonard, you were the curator of the Pavlova Museum for many years at Ivy House in North London, and you've helped to organise the current exhibition at Ivy House that's on for this centenary year. What does the exhibition tell us about Anna Pavlova?
It centres on her life in Ivy House and all the period from it, but it touches on also, of course, the extraordinary tours that she carried out. She travelled something like 400,000 miles. She's length and breadth of the Americas, north and south, and a good number of times. Nothing for her to do tours of 40 venues on a tour up and down the whole length of North America, and then later in South America. She went to Japan, China, India, Burma, Australia, Egypt, South Africa, as well as Europe. You know, she created the audience for classical ballet throughout the world, although it had, of course, existed at the Paris Opera, which was the font of all classical ballet after Milan. And she established a hunger for ballet, a true hunger. The ballettomane was developed internationally by Anna Pavlova.
The ballet fan of today is still influenced by Pavlova and has come out of her incredible world tours and her wonderful short ballets that she danced.
Yes, she did dance short ballets, and of course the tours were extraordinarily influential. But what people don't often realise, that she was an extraordinary performer of major roles at the Mariinsky. She was a great Giselle, well recorded in the press. She was a great Nikita in La Bayadère. She essayed Sleeping Beauty, but it didn't suit her manner of expression, although she got good reviews. She was successful in every ballet that she undertook at the the Mariinsky and was well recorded. And of course, she went to dance at the Bolshoi as a guest in La Fille du Pharaon, and again had a tremendous success.
Now, I should just mention that that exhibition is part of Pavlova 2012, which is part of the Cultural Olympiad, paralleling the Olympic Games. And at Ivy House, there'll be a Pavlova Day this Sunday with a full programme of events, including a ballet masterclass, a talk by Clement Crisp, the Financial Times ballet critic, a piano recital by Philip Gammon, whose long association with the Royal Ballet is historic, and an interview with, well, you can tell us about the last interview because that's a very exciting event you've got on.
You're right. I'm very much looking forward to hearing Tamara Rojo speak. She's an extraordinary dancer and quite an extraordinary woman who has not only been studying her ballet and keeping herself fit and giving wonderful performance, she's also undertaken a degree while she was here in business management, which has prepared her wonderfully for her new job, because she's leaving the Royal Ballet shortly to take up directorship of English National Ballet.
So a very impressive and a very modern ballerina.
A very modern ballerina, but she has similarities to Pavlova. One in, of course, she has dark hair like Pavlova, and she has a face that is beautiful. And she's expressive, exactly as Pavlova was.
The Pavlova Day is this Sunday, but the exhibition continues beyond that. And I should just add that opening times at the museum do vary, so it's best to visit www.ljcc.org.uk or call 020 8457 5000 before you set off. Now, Leonard, you've been watching the Kirov, now the Mariinsky and the Bolshoi since 1961. I wanted to ask you, would Pavlova recognise what they're doing today?
Well, she certainly would recognise the classroom exercises. They wouldn't have changed so much, except, of course, the height of the extension of the leg has changed more so in the last decade or so.
Ballerinas are a bit more acrobatic now.
And more acrobatic,
Not
yes.
sure whether that adds anything.
It doesn't for me, but it can sometimes. It depends on the artistry of the dancer.
And what about the actual full-length story ballets? What would Pavlova think if she went to the Mariinsky or Covent Garden today?
Well, the Mariinsky did, and I say did, endeavour to revive some of the old ballets in the form that they were given. But the management of the Mariinsky found that they were too expensive to recreate each season because they were vast, hundreds of people, huge sets, magnificent, and sadly they've fallen out of favour.
But they still do put on the story.
They still put on the story. They still put on Sleeping Beauty, Giselle, Swan Lake, all of the staple classics of ballet companies.
Do you think she'd enjoy the dancing today?
I think she'd respect it.
That's a good answer. And now, Leonard, you're going to introduce a little bit of the music that we're going to end our programme with today.
Just a little bit of history of the work. It has been called for many years The Dying Swan, but of course it was never known to Pavlova or the choreographer Fokine as such. It was The Swan, based on a poem by Balmont, music by Saint-Saëns, and was created for a charity performance in St Petersburg. And it has remained probably the most known work of Pavlova's career, and every other ballerina, rightly or wrongly, has attempted to perform it since her death.
This is The Voice of Russia in London. I'm Alice Lagnado. Stay tuned.
This is The Voice of Russia. The London Bureau of The Voice of Russia is now live on digital radio and online, with news, comment and debate on weekdays between 4 and 7 p.m.